Hello, adventurers. This is episode 114 of Adventures in Pop. My name is Simon Jacobs, and you are fantastically welcome. And actually, I'm glad you could make it because I was just waiting for you to turn up, and here you are. Two things on our agenda today. I think we need to talk briefly about Tina Turner. We have to do that. We have to show a little bit of respect. We don't need another hero, but we do need Tina Turner. And also, I want to talk about one track which is going to be like the unreleased track on my new album 5, which is coming out in a couple of weeks' time. So I just thought I'd give you a little early preview of the track that kind of won't be a single, a late addition to the album 5. Right, well, look, I think we should start with Tina Turner, shouldn't we? Who died at the age of 83. And I mean, I don't want to keep doing deaths. We have to have a spin off series just called, famous pop stars who've died, which should be a bit morbid. And don't want to do that. But, when they go, it feels remiss not to just sort of acknowledge the contribution they've made. And Tina made a pretty big contribution. So look, Tina Turner, what I could tell you in a nutshell is she had two careers. One was her kind of soul funk icon Tina Turner career with an abusive husband who she eventually left, but at some cost to her and to her career. So she went through a pretty lengthy period in the doldrums at the end of the 70s, the early 80s, and then was kind of rediscovered. I mean, there's a film that kind of covers this story, was rediscovered by a couple of guys, British guys, who were doing their kind of synthesizer pop music. Actually, they were the boys from Heaven 17. They'd left Human League. There they were, forging a new path in kind of synthesizer pop, and they wanted a guest vocalist, and they turned to Tina Turner, and they made "Let's Stay Together" with Tina Turner. Now, it wasn't their first collaboration. I think they started with "Ball of Confusion," didn't do very well, didn't go anywhere. You can find it on Spotify though, and then they had a go with "Let's Stay Together," and the rest, as I say, is history. And so the second career for Tina Turner was her kind of mainstream, kind of solely vocal, because that's the way she sang, but often attached to kind of 80s soft rock. Think of, Simply the Best and What's Love Got to Do with It, etc., etc. So she had a really big period of the 80s where she was really doing very, very well, selling lots and lots of albums, and, as I say, applying this kind of soulful, very, very strong voice to the kind of, American soft rock kind of feel that was pretty prevalent in the 80s. And I guess we could say I'm not a great fan of that, but I do want to be fair. I think "Let's Stay Together" is a terrific track. That comeback track in 1983, and I remember it because around that time, a friend of mine, Graham, persuaded me to go and visit Heaven nightclub in the centre of London. I'd never been there before, and I was terrified. I don't know what I was frightened of, but I was terrified of everything. There I was, about 19 or 20 years old, maybe 20, something around there. And off we went to Heaven and the nightclub, And what I remember most of all about that whole evening is quite early on this huge dance floor in this enormous cavernous space where not many people had arrived yet, was a spotlight on one person, just somebody, not a professional, just one person dancing in the middle of the room to "Let's Stay Together," and the whole of the rest of the floor was completely empty, and the sound was extraordinarily loud. So it was a very, very kind of dramatic experience. And I remember kind of standing there just thinking, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm in Heaven nightclub and this is very exciting. I just thought, what a great record this is. Oh my God, this is fantastic. And it is still a stunning record. Now, if you listen to it, Tina Turner, just for those who are interested, she follows in Let's Stay Together every single nuance and note and phrase of the way that Al Green sings the original. So although Al Green has not the vocal cords of Tina Turner, his is a much more kind of subdued, down to earth kind of version. She's singing the same notes as him, exactly in the same phrasing, but just with all that kind of Tina energy, which is, pretty amazing. And it's a very good production. So look, there we go. I also would recommend, well, look, that first album of the comeback, which was Private Dancer, also has the track Private Dancer on it, which is written by Mark Knopfler. I think it's a good 7 minutes long. And actually, that is a really fine song and delivered really very, very well indeed. So, I'm not knocking her. I would say she really, I would say she made a really important contribution as, a very famous non-white female singer. There weren't many of Tina's around, and she did extraordinarily well. And not only that, but when she came back for her comeback, she wasn't that young. She was in her 40s, and she still managed to kind of get through all the prejudice that there must have been against that kind of comeback being even possible. So she did brilliant things. So look, check out, as I say, check out Private Dancer, check out Let's Stay Together, and let's thank her for her fantastic contribution to rock and pop over a very long period of time. So well done, Tina. I've got an album coming out in a couple of weeks. It's going to be called Five, and just in case you didn't know that, I've released most of the tracks as singles already, but when it comes out, there will be 2 tracks that I haven't released. One is a song that I've played out on a live at home. It's called Weight of the World, and we'll come on to that another time. But the other one is a song called Things, which I've had a few goes at getting right, and up until this time hadn't really got right. But now, as a last minute entrant, it kind of all came together, and it's going to be one of the tracks on the album 5. Not released as a single, it'll just be a track for people to listen to and enjoy. And I thought I'd bring it to you a little bit ahead of time. So Things is, if you listen to the words, it's very clearly and rather unsubtly about, I suppose, it's about not needing things. It's about things that kind of clutter up your life, and it's particularly about things that get made very cheaply in faraway factories by people who are probably not being paid a minimum wage or any wage at all, and by children and all of that stuff, which, well, I think sometimes needs pointing out. Look, I live in a place where there's a Primark down the road here, and obviously I don't want to say anything, bad about them, because I'm sure they're fabulous and very honest and have total integrity. But I do wonder sometimes how things can be sold that cheap. What is the supply chain to be really dull that gets it onto the shelves of those kinds of stores? So that does bother me. And I do name a couple of countries in this, and I did look this up just to make sure I wasn't, completely slandering Asian countries, but I mentioned China, India, and Bangladesh as being amongst the worst sort of contributors to the flow of extremely cheap goods that people feel the need to buy because they want to have lots of things. So that's the context of this song, Things. Okay, but obviously when you're writing that kind of thing, I mean, great, get all those points down, be as harsh as you want to be, but you still got to come up with a song that's got a tune and something about it. Otherwise, why would anybody bother to listen? So, in making Things, one of the things I tried to do, and I think hopefully this comes across, and I'm gonna pull them out for you actually now. One of the things I tried to do is in various parts of the song is basically use with the rhythm is give the impression of basically a factory production line. Make it sound like something clunking away with the factory production line, because you could do that in a rhythmic way and just incorporate it into the song. So have a listen to this. So the first time we get to the section with a bit of industrial noise is here. Let's just try and make sure this is working. Okay. That's rather good. Okay, you get the feel of that. And then when it comes back around again, I've added a few more bits and pieces in. So the second time around, we've got this. And I just, bring that back in again later in the song. But that is just trying to give that impression of a factory production line. Okay, so Things will be, as I say, one of the tracks on the album 5. The album is coming out on June the 9th. We've got a few weeks to go. It's going to be very exciting. And then, of course, I will be taking, a few minutes off before we start getting ourselves ready for the launch of a whole new project, which won't be called 6, but it will be the beginning of, I suppose, the 6th album, which is terribly exciting. And I've got a few ideas up my sleeve to try and, I suppose, move the needle a little bit here. I've come unstuck recently. For those who've been watching carefully, I've come unstuck with Spotify once. I've come unstuck with YouTube quite recently as well. So my plan is to not come unstuck anymore and to try and find different ways to very legitimately promote and attract real people, because I'm not very interested in being loved by some computers in far parts of the world. I mean, that really makes me feel quite depressed. So a different way of trying to attract a bit of attention, and you can help me with that, I'm sure, as well, by telling all your friends and enjoying all the music. And if you are enjoying it, then do subscribe and follow and all those kind of things. But I'm going to leave you with a very simple lyrics video, because actually I'm going away for a few days, so I haven't got time to make it gorgeous, but might do another video by the time the album comes out. But a very simple lyrics video for Things. And I will see you again very, very soon as we get near to the release date of the album 5. You take care and enjoy these things. Bye-bye.
I don't want things. I don't need diamond rings. They don't do anything for me. I don't want stuff. Oh, God knows I've got enough. I've got no more capacity. From the hands of children working for $1 a day, all those beautiful things, but somewhere there's a price to pay. I don't want more, so tell me what I need it for. All that packaging and waste. You love it cheap, ooh, but these are the things that you won't keep. There's no accounting for your taste. From Bangladesh and India, to keep a constant flow. From factories in China, they keep the prices low. Oh, it feels like greed when you've got all that you need. And then you see something shiny in you. The constant allure to have a little bit more. You know you can't take that with you. Want things. No, I don't need diamond rings. And diamonds aren't forever in the end. A faster car, ooh, your finest caviar, a puppy just for the weekend. From the hands of children to the luxury fashion store shelves, all those beautiful things to make us feel better about ourselves. 3, 4. Oh, it feels like green. You've got all that you need. Then you see something shiny in you. The constant allure to have a little bit more. You know you can't take that with you. Oh, it feels like green. You've got all that you need. Then you see something shiny in you. The constant allure